Let's go ahead and dive into the Minnesota game. So first off, man, how are you feeling about kind of where everything stands with the spread? Opened as a 5.5 point spread, I believe. It has kind of expanded to 9.5. So what do you feel about, what's your confidence in this game, and kind of how are you feeling? How's the Minnesota fan base feeling about this?
I mean, I'm torn because, like, when you start talking about a 10-point spread, that starts to feel disrespectful at home, given the history between the two teams. At the same time, I think it's fair to say that Minnesota has not played its best ball yet this year. There have been a lot of uneven performances. I think, you saw Minnesota play Cal was the worst game of the year. But Minnesota played its second worst game of the year against Purdue on Saturday and, sort of got the win because we had better playmakers than them. But that was it. Minnesota did not play, overly well. I think the fan base, here's what I'll say. I think that, like, the message board fan base is miserable, but aren't they always?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Minnesotans, if you don't know, Minnesotans are, I'm not, because I'm not built like them, but Minnesotans are pessimistic by nature.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I remember, man, 2019, we won 11 games, and all year it was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're good enough. And I was just like, you guys, these are the salad days. Enjoy it.
Yep.
So
I feel like it's Nebraska fans where they'll try to spin a negative on a lot of things. I mean, well, a lot of our fan base is delusional in the positive sense.
Yes.
But then when things go wrong, it's like a meltdown. And then when things are going, it's like, are they good enough? Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of all over the place, especially mid game. Yeah. So I don't
understand. I would say the fans who go to the games are feeling pretty good.
Yes.
Like, I feel like, we got out. I think if you had asked me before the season, I would have hoped to be 5-1 at this point, but 4-2 is not a total disaster. Given the Cal loss was went to the West Coast, had to play a game that kicked off at almost 10 p.m. Central Time.
Jeez.
Coy Parrish didn't show up at all. Played the worst game of his career, had a punt bounce off him, all kinds of stuff. And, like, so that was a low point. So since then, I think the Gophers have definitely improved. But the issue is that the offensive line is underperforming consistently, and particularly run blocking. And so Minnesota has been getting out to these slow starts where both against Rutgers and Purdue, it was like they were asleep the whole first quarter. And, they come out, and when you know how it is with the negative game script. Once the thing about the run game is that once you get behind by a few scores, you can't focus on the run game anymore.
You abandon it. Yep.
You have to, because you have to throw the ball, because you have to, and luckily Minnesota has Drake Lindsey, who can really, really throw the ball. And that's really exciting. Because, he's just a freshman. So I feel like the sky's the limit for him. But yeah, the offensive line is the main problem. I think the defensive line, particularly the defensive tackles, have at times been up and down, and they're veteran guys, but at times you're seeing them get caught in the wrong gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just kind of like, why?
Yeah.
And I think, first year defensive coordinator Danny Collins, I think, is still figuring it out. And he might need to simplify a little bit and just be like, just let the guys go play and not worry as much about being in the exact right look every single time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You saw that with Minnesota's run defense against Purdue. You saw guys playing slow.
I think one of the biggest, looking at the offensive side of the ball, just a question about that, because it is part of the uncomfortable, because this goes into my first question I was going to ask, is part of the uncomfortableness with this Minnesota team maybe the fact that it is foreign, with them not running the ball as much? It's kind of a different style of offense, and how comfortable
we did that last year though
with Fleck. But just in general, I think overall, like the general Minnesota is like, kind of pound the rock.
Yes.
Do you think, and is Fleck fully comfortable with the passing, first kind of system?
Fleck is fully comfortable with the passing, but he's upset when he can't run the ball.
Okay.
Because that's how he controls time of possession and shortens the game. and keeps his defense off the field. PJ Fleck, one of the reasons why PJ Fleck often has really good defenses is because he usually doesn't make them play that many snaps.
Yeah.
Because he likes to win the time of possession and get more plays in than the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that hasn't really worked out as well this year. I honestly think that the issue is that for whatever reason, Minnesota missed on a couple consecutive offensive line classes. And then they supplemented through the portal, hit and miss. We're paying we've got one guy, Khalid Tafai, who was supposed to be our starting tackle, who apparently can't get in good enough shape to play.
Jeez.
We're halfway through the season and he's not in. So I don't know if it seems like an eating problem.
That's crazy.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
So I feel like every guy is playing about one spot out of position, maybe.
Okay.
And, I like our young guys and I like our recruits, both like the guys who are committed for next year and also the guys who are committed for the year after or going to be committed for the year after kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a blip on the radar because Brian Callahan has had a very good tenure as our offensive line coach. Yeah. He's been with PJ going back to Western Michigan. Other than really last year and this year, it's been really successful. But this year, they haven't been able to figure it out yet. And it's really a shame because Darius Taylor is one of the best running backs in the Big Ten. And right now, they're kind of having to throw him the ball to get him his yards.
Yeah. And I guess, Brian, go ahead. I'll let you take the next question.
Well, I'm glad you're talking about the offensive line. I was curious, in your opinion, kind of what do you think is causing the issues? Because I saw against Purdue, I believe they had 30 rushing yards. The running back, I forget his name. What was his name again? The guy you mentioned.
For them? Or
for
us, Darius Taylor.
Darius Taylor. Thank you. I saw he was averaging 2 yards per carry the last couple of games. What do you think on the offensive line? Can they change even to have success? Because we know Nebraska struggled against the run.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Minnesota has to figure out a way to exploit because Nebraska has had issues that way. That said, we were just unable to run against Purdue. And again, I would say it's the two things I mentioned before. It's the negative game scripts where we have to get out of the running game too soon. And just frankly, the fact that this is maybe not the most talented offensive line PJ Fleck's ever had. So that doesn't mean they can't be effective. I think at times they have been. Mm-hmm. But I don't think this isn't 2021. We had Mo Ibrahim go down and we still ran over everybody in the Big Ten. Like it was no big deal. And, with running backs who frankly, one of them wasn't that good, I won't say his name because I'm not trying to be a jerk, but, and then we had Bucky Irving, who was very good.
Very good.
That was a whole
still very good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was a whole different kind of thing. So I think it's really those two things. And, I think it's a thing where if the defense plays a little better to start the game, it'll give Minnesota more time to commit to the run game. And I think if Minnesota can come out and not give up 14 points or 10 points in the first quarter, like they did against both Rutgers and Purdue, if they can come out and not do that, and give up more like 3 points in the first quarter, or at most 7, then we can run the ball.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I really think it comes down to making plays. The defense has adjusted and played really well in the second halves of games. Mm-hmm. The defense has not played as well in the first quarters of games.
Yeah, and moving over to the defensive side of the ball, one of the things that, solid kind of top 50 nationally in terms of sack rate. What are some of the things defensively do you feel like y'all are doing well? What are some of the things that you feel like you need to probably improve upon? Because Nebraska is finding a little bit of balance in their offense lately. So, what are some of the things that you think that the defense is going to have to juggle this weekend to kind of keep everything, maintain a pass rush while still being able to stay at home and kind of make sure that Nebraska's not taking the quick, underneath reads and kind of dink and dunk their way down the field?
Minnesota hasn't always tackled well this year. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Because we get pressure. Oh my God, we get pressure. And I'm watching it in the stadium, watching us get pressure, and guys just miss in space at times. Mm-hmm. And against Ohio State, sure, fine, whatever. against Jeremiah Smith. Okay.
Yeah, good luck with that anyways.
Like, yeah, he flattened Coy Parrish like it was like he was nobody, dude. And like you expect that. But against Purdue, you can't have that.
Right.
You just can't.
Yep.
So I really think it's if Minnesota can just tackle a little better, they're getting the pressure and they're covering pretty well. I will say against Purdue, we had our number 2 cornerback out, Mike Gerald. That hurts because Minnesota is deeper at safety than we are at corner.
Mm-hmm.
And so having, we need to have our top 2 guys in John Nestor and Mike Gerald. We need to have those guys in place, I think, to really feel strong, like we have guys locked up on the outside and our safeties can play more games and we can force turnovers and play, things like that.
Yep.
So I'm really hoping, I don't think he was supposed to be hurt very badly. I'm hoping he's back for Nebraska, but PJ will not say anything about injuries except for you'll see the report 2 hours before the game is what we get from him every press conference.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. So about the rushing defense in particular, statistically speaking, Minnesota gives up like 110 yards per game, I believe, which is top 25, top 30 nationally. But Purdue ran for like 225. Was that kind of like a one-off scenario? I'll be honest, I haven't watched a ton of Minnesota this year. I just moved 700 miles. So
it was weird.
A lot of football.
It was weird. Like, I will say Rutgers ran on us at times, but it wasn't like consistently and it was, and neither did anyone else really this year. So it felt like a one-off to me. Honestly, you guys have watched decades of college football. I've watched decades of college football. You know what I think? I think it's possible that Minnesota maybe spent, I don't know, half a day last week thinking about Nebraska and not thinking about Purdue.
Very possible.
I think Nebraska is a team that, doesn't quite rise to the level of a full-blown rivalry, but there's a lot of contempt and dislike on both sides. I think PJ relishes playing against Nebraska. PJ loves playing against Nebraska. PJ loves it more when you guys are ranked. He loves that. He loves that stuff.
Yep.
So he's like, PJ's like, oh yeah, baby, I got my best stuff this week. I'm gonna motivate the bejesus out of this team. So I do think we got caught a little bit flat-footed against Purdue, maybe looking ahead. I think that's possible.
100%. One of the things too that, the Minnesota's tends to be and still continues to be a very unpenalized team, very disciplined team for the most part. Is there a trade-off there with the lack of kind of explosive plays in the offense versus kind of keeping that everything tight and kind of controlling, protecting the ball? Is that kind of what PJ Fleck does, or does he want to try to get more explosive plays going?
He's been much more open to pushing the ball with Drake. And I also think, like, okay, if you look at last year, Minnesota had Daniel Jackson, they had Elijah Spencer. They were both very good receivers, but those guys are both possession receivers.
100%. Yeah,
they were route runners. They were not guys who were going to wow you with athleticism and beat you downfield. So right now, the problem Minnesota has, but it's been successful at times, and you saw that against Rutgers. And against, I forget the MAC team we played offhand because it's been a season. But yeah, I want to say Ohio.
Buffalo?
No, Buffalo. Yeah.
Buffalo.
Jalen Smith is real. He's real, and he's freakishly athletic. And against Ohio State, he was the only one on offense because Darius was still on a pitch count and coming off an injury and not looking himself.
Yep.
He was the only one who looked like, out of our skill guys, they belonged on the field with the Buckeyes. He is also a redshirt freshman. There are mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at times, man, you get him the ball and he's one-on-one and like, good luck. I know your secondary is great, but like, I like our chances.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are also times where he's running his routes and I'm like, what are you doing?
Gotta love that.
Like, you're not like getting into and out of your break the way you normally do. Like, where's the explosion? Where's the consistency?
Yep.
Kind of thing.
So
they need that because, like, I like Javon Tracy a lot. He's a nice player for us. he's athletic-ish, but he's not a freak.
Yeah.
He's not that. Yeah, he's not quite as athletic, I think, as his brother is. Although he makes some really nice plays.
Yeah.
I mean, that touchdown he had late against Rutgers was totally ridiculous. And Lemeke Brockington is a guy who you love because he started out as primarily a run blocker for us a few years ago, and he's just gotten better and better and better. And he's a really reliable, consistent wide receiver. He's not your number one wide receiver all the time kind of guy that you can game plan your whole thing around. But he is very steady, consistent, gets open, is athletic. He was on Bruce Feldman's freaks list because he squats like 750 pounds.
Yeah, that's nutty.
Jeez.
That's nutty.
As a wide receiver.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane for whatever position you play.
Right. So like Lemeke is great that way. So I'm really happy for him. Jameson Gears is a nice tight end. It's can we get good enough offensive line play?
Yeah.
For me over and over and over on both sides of the ball. Because I think the defensive line play against Purdue was a one-off.